Hey everybody, welcome to our call. Glad to have Peter Morrice, head of instruction at Golf Digest, with us. We'll wait a couple more minutes for a few people to join, and then we'll get started. Um, just so everyone knows, before you got here, we were talking Villanova basketball, so we were getting some good updates from Peter.
If anybody has any great ideas, put those in the chat.
Yeah, so we definitely are accepting questions and I mean, first of all, we would love questions to be about the app. Happy to answer any questions about the golf swing in general. If you do have Villanova basketball questions, that'll be on me and Peter's other podcast. So
Hmm,
yeah,
perfect.
cool.
Or the hot spots in Philly. You know,
Yeah, that's
that's always a good topic. We're not talking cheesesteaks. It's overdone. It's cliched. No
that is
cheese.
cliche. Good golf courses in Philly, I'll tell you that
Yeah,
much.
and there are many.
It's a deep roster.
Yeah.
Um, cool. Well, yeah, let's get started. So, today's topic is really going through the app and just kind of a tutorial on the app, how to get the most out of it, uh, you know, where to go for different things, and would love for anyone to put any questions in the chat. And we're here with Peter Maurice from Golf Digest. He's head of instruction there. Uh, a very good golfer in his own right, but also has just like listened to the best instruction from over the years as he's putting it together for Golf Digest. So really thankful to have him. Thanks for joining us, Peter.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Yeah,
Cool.
I've been at it long enough to be a total head case. So, I don't think that I could do that to anybody in an hour, but we'll see how it goes.
Cool. Luckily for you, we'll talk mostly about the swing today, not about the mental game. But as we know, and at the end, we'll cover things that we really want to get into in the future. And mental game is part of it. As one of our co-founders is one of the best mental coaches on the PGA Tour, Jason Goldsmith. So really excited to talk about that and talk about where we go in the future. Um, but first off, Peter, you were really there from the beginning for Mustard launching golf and for kind of building the partnership between Mustard and Golf Digest. Um, can you speak to, you know, why this was important for Golf Digest to get involved in?
Yeah, for sure. So, by the way, Golf Digest is turning 75 next year. And yep, happy birthday, Golf Digest. But as a legacy brand, I mean, for most of that time, we were a print magazine, and we would put a lot of kind of broad-based instructional content out there, and a lot of great stuff. Always great contributors at Golf Digest. But it was up to the reader to kind of filter through it and figure out, let me try this, let me try that. The core content of Golf Digest has always been instruction or game improvement. And then, recently, of course, we have a website, and then we're working on all of these other digital platforms now. But the core content has always been, how do you play better? That's why people come to Golf Digest. How do I improve my game? What should I work on? And I think what initially attracted us the most to Mustard, you guys already had some reps in other sports, and it's the personalization is really the key as we move into kind of more digital content. And we still produce a lot of broad-based content that people can comb their way through and try to figure out what works for them. But an opportunity to kind of hit people right where they need it, just kind of help them figure out, where do I start? I think that's really the hardest thing for people is there's so much instruction out there, online now, anywhere, videos, articles, podcasts, you name it. I think it's increasingly difficult for people to figure out what to listen to, what to try. Um, so I think we've been talking about this app for going on 2 years now, I think, and I'm happy to say I think we were faithful to the original mission, which was get people started in a very simple way, give them something to commit to that they can trust, and then give them some great instruction behind that they can follow in a committed way and trust that they know they're going in the right direction. You know, people I find that work on their golf game, especially remotely with content, they're either overwhelmed because there's so much of it, um, or maybe they don't start at all because they don't really know where to start. They don't know what would be right for them. So the original line for Mustard, that democratize great teaching, I think is really a great line. Because to be able to take the experience that somebody would have with a really great instructor and give it to them on a remote, on a digital platform, I think is really amazing. And I think we're off to a great start in doing that. So that's what
Yeah.
initially attracted us. And yeah, it's been a fun ride so far.
Yeah, and that really is such a big issue for folks that are, I mean, it's not just beginners, it's kind of everybody. You see a tip and you're like, oh, that must be it. That must be the one thing my swing's missing, you know? Let me try this tip out and let me, or try this drill or whatever it is online. But it really might not be for you at all. Like that tip could be for somebody with a totally different swing, a totally different swing pattern. And so that's really what we're hoping to help everybody sort through is like, here's what your swing actually looks like. Here's what the biggest issue in your swing is and the priority in your swing is. And let's give you some content and let's give you drills to actually work on that and
Yeah.
improve and give you a
I mean,
plan.
the only thing worse than not doing anything, which is quite honestly, which I think a lot of people do because they don't really know how to go about it. The only thing really worse is going down the wrong road and
Yeah.
spending a lot of time and money and your energy doing something that isn't right for you, and you don't even know if it's right or wrong for you. So people are spinning their wheels a lot with trying to get better. So I just from the very beginning, we love this idea of being identifying um, areas of improvement for people in a kind of a very, very targeted way, getting them to understand why this is the way it is, understanding their swing a little bit, and then putting them on a like a narrow content road where they know everything that we're presenting to them is right for them, and it's based on the analysis, not just putting fun tips together.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, let's jump into to some of the app and kind of just like the basics. I think first things first in the app, the big question is how to record a proper video and what types of videos are good to upload. I would say first things first, we really focused on um, any video that you have on your phone. Let's just get it uploaded, you know? And I think that's part because of our mission and because of what Golf Digest wanted to do, which was we want this thing to be accessible and we want people just from the comfort of their own home. Most people already have down the line video. Let's get that down the line video uploaded right away. And so, here would be a properly recorded video. And I took this of my buddy, beautiful Brookside Golf Course in Pasadena, California.
It's a tough
Um,
drive. My gosh, you got to hit a good one.
it is a tough drive. But first thing you'll see is like this is a down the line video. The entire club stays within the frame the whole time, and then the entire body stays within the frame the whole time. And that's really important for us. If we lose the club at certain points, that means that line that we're kind of tracing throughout the swing is going to disappear. And that's not really, that's not going to give you back the results that you want. And so I think a lot of people, when they record, typically put the person kind of off to if they're right-handed, left of the frame.
Mm.
We really want to make sure that person's more centered. And then as close to the target line as you can align, that's better. Righties and lefties, totally fine. You don't even need to like mark whether you're right or lefty. That's automatically captured. But we are just down the line video for now. And really that decision came down to that's the video that people already have on their phone. And then I think secondly, Um, Part of what's unique about our technology is just from one angle, we can kind of tell what the body's doing from other angles. So we're still adding in a bunch of variables that you would like typically see from other angles. But that is what we'll add in the future. So I think that's pretty exciting. Um, yeah, and Peter, I know that accessibility was something really important to Golf Digest as well, and something that you guys really looked for when partnering with us.
Yeah, I think that down the line, I mean, the amazing thing is here we're talking about like by uploading one swing, essentially, and I know Luke, you're going to get into this. It's going to unlock a lot of doors. Um, and I know you'll get into the specifics, but the amazing thing is, I think most of you listening, you have on your phone already the critical first piece to get started. And we can really do a lot with just a single swing. And Luke, I'm sure you're going to get into what's kind of behind the curtain with all of the technology.
Yeah,
But one thing we definitely learned with Golf Digest is the more golfers are crazy for their game and they want to do everything, but the more you ask someone to do, the less chance they're going to do it.
yeah,
So the beauty of this, and I know I fought it initially. I'm like, oh, we got to get all these different angles, but you can tell so much from this one angle, and it's already existing in the camera roll for most people.
yeah. And then, a couple more things I'll say on the video. Even if it's slow-mo or, high frame rate or whatever, that's totally fine. Um, go ahead and upload it. The only types of videos that we wouldn't accept are if it is regular speed at one point and then slow mo in another. The frame rates just don't match throughout the video, so it's hard to kind of for us to patch it all together. And then if a video is excessively long, so if you can try to just keep it to a swing or two within one video. If there are multiple swings in a video, we can't automatically segment them out and tell like when a swing was. Um, but it it's probably just a lot for your internet connection. It's a lot for us when you upload a file that's too big. So try to keep it to 90 seconds or less, we typically say. Otherwise, that's the keys on recording a video. It's nothing too strict, we don't have to be too strict. We can be relatively lenient with it, and you're still going to get a good analysis. So next up, once you get your swing analyzed, or once you upload a swing, you'll get an analysis back, and you'll actually get a message from Mark Blackburn talking about your swing pattern. And Peter, I know these are something that we talked about kind of ad nauseum, like these videos from Blackburn that really talk about a person's individual swing pattern. Can you just talk a little bit about how these came to be and what we hope people get from them?
Yeah, well, the first thing I'll say is I think most people they hit such garden variety shots when they play that they think they're making a different swing every time they step up to the ball. And the reality is, most of us are incredibly consistent from swing to swing. And there are minor little variations that happen in the club face or, where your weight is that produce these dramatically different shots. But if you were just to try to break down somebody's like core positions and like kind of the soul of their swing, um, it really doesn't change much at all. And if you've been playing for 20 years, it probably hasn't changed for 20 years. So when we started to kind of work this out and think about like what are, the golf swing is a mess. There's so many things going on, but what could you look at? What would the basics be? Hand path, body positions, rotation, things like this. And that's where we kind of created the framework for the swing analysis, was to kind of break down the swing in as many like important basic ways as we could that would cover any golfer who would come in, and it wouldn't miss the big mistakes that they're making. And that's of course what you're getting to start with is here's a basic swing analysis. And then where do I go from here? What's my best opportunity to improve? So essentially, we have a prioritized list of um, steps in the plan. Like, where would you start? Like I was saying before, it's the hardest thing for most people to get their hands around is what do I do first? Like, where do I start? And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, good.
totally. Yeah, and this is what you'll get in the app, is just a video from Blackburn.
So here's where we are. We've taken your swing using our Mustard AI computer vision.
He's going to tell you a little bit about your swing. He's going to kind of.
Now we can tell you this. Your hands are traveling too far outside in the downswing.
And you know what? What he's getting at is kind of the key part of your swing pattern. So a lot of us will have multiple faults or whatever. He's going to tell you what the key distinct feature probably is in your golf swing. And then from there, once we get into the report card, that might not be where we start. You may actually have to start earlier in the swing. That's what's easier to correct and kind of what Blackburn says later in this video. We're going to start with the easiest thing to correct first. So even if you're like, oh, Blackburn told me my hands are too far out in the downswing, you might start way earlier in the swing because that could correct the thing later.
That's getting that club traveling out and in and across, leading to a lot of those pulls, slices, and those awful toe shots. Now, we've also measured your backswing, and we know that in the backswing, you're actually losing your posture and coming up. And now, in an effort to get back to the golf ball, the club is traveling outside and across, leading to those pulls and slices.
So I just think this is so neat because this is a type of swing pattern that like Blackburn has seen a ton of times. And he's just like, yeah, this is what happens to people and we can fix it. He's dealt with swings like this a ton of times. So I just think that this is a really neat feature of the application that's just, telling you a little bit more personally about your swing pattern. And then from there, we can get a little bit more into the nitty gritty. But yeah, after this, Blackburn just talks in that video a little bit more about how this may not be where we start. In order to fix that swing pattern we're talking about, we're not going to start with the hands two out. And so let's take a look at that report card. And I think we can start getting into the priorities, which I think is really interesting and maybe the crux of like what we do and the crux of the information that you can get back. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say, Luke, I mean, I've been lucky to be around these great instructors for so many years. And one thing that always strikes me when you watch a great teacher give a lesson, is that you're always amazed at how simple it is in the end. I mean, there's a lot going on, they're seeing a lot, but they're not sharing everything that they see because they realize that people only have so much bandwidth. So you start talking about, well, you're doing this and you're doing that, but that doesn't really matter. Let's take a look at that. That doesn't really matter. I mean, what a great teacher does is says, we're going to get to the one thing that's the biggest issue for you. And that's where we're going to spend all our time. And I think that's what we've really tried to mirror here, is like getting to the most important things as quick as possible, helping people see progress, and then just kind of hammering away at it until you just see results.
I think that's totally right. And I can't wait till we get to the priorities. First things first on just like this swing path. Like Blackburn has said, you're coming too far out to in on the downswing. And you can see how much that backswing and downswing are different than each other, right? So like that's something you can see. But then you might ask yourself, okay, you're telling me that my number one priority is backswing posture, right? When maybe even the first thing that Blackburn said was your hands are too out on the downswing. You've even seen it in the video that your hands are too out in the downswing. But the first thing you're going to work on is that posture in the backswing, which Blackburn already touched on as well. And that's because that's way earlier in the swing. If you fix that posture, a lot of times, like, you don't give yourself space to make that over the top move. It might still be there, but you also might have eliminated it. Also seems easier to fix. And Peter, isn't this something that kind of great coaches that you've talked to a lot, which you've talked to a ton of them, also stress?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. They always try to work it back to the first violation. You know, it's if it's in the setup, great. If it's in the takeaway, fine. Backswing, the farther into the swing you get, the harder it is to change things because the swing is moving faster. There's more moving parts, and I think Mark said it really great in the beginning, that early video, where it's like the first domino to fall. That's the one we're trying to get, and if you can fix that one, a lot of other things kind of fall into place. So it's just getting back to this idea of like one thing, and as early as possible, that's how I think you get the quickest results.
Yeah. And what's interesting here is like, you can see that this person's body posture is like a 5 out of 10. It's not great, but there's actually other things in their swing that that are lower, right? But like you said, it's about starting with that first domino to fall. And that's really like what we're looking to attack is the first domino. And that backswing body posture is one of the first. You know, I know even for my swing, this was something to like really work on that helped a lot of the other dominoes fall into place. So you don't need to ask me. I'm 100% bought in on this style of teaching and really just having like one thing to focus on during your swing at a time. And then after a couple weeks, moving on to the next variable, while also maintaining some of those drills from, you know, backswing body posture, for example. That seems to really be the way to improve quickly instead of doing a million things at once and not doing any of them very well.
Yeah, I mean, tour players, you see that. I mean, and Justin Rose would talk about this and has talked about this, you know, working on the same drills for many years, you know, just a few drills, because his challenges are the same. The faults tend to creep back in, and there's always this instinct, oh, I want to try something new. That didn't work. Let me try something else. Let me try something new. The beauty is once you get in the right place and you know you're working on the right thing, there are certainly various drills and corrections that you can look at as long as you're staying in that area. I mean, the instinct is always, oh, this isn't working, so let me go try something else. The beauty of like the Mustard app is like once you identify what your issues are, it's just a matter of kind of camping down with those and really working on them. And the variety can come from trying new things in the same area, but not just skipping around and saying, well, let me try this, let me try that. That's what you see from great players. I mean, you see them working on the same things all the time because they realize that when their game starts to slip, it's not like some radical new thing has popped up. It's really probably they just slipped off the tracks and they went back to where they were. So it is an amazing, I always say like it's a gift when somebody can tell you what you're doing wrong and they're right. Wow, that's amazing.
And, you know, one of the funnier things is like Justin Rose works a lot on his hips move towards the ball a little bit more. His hips are thrusting, as we would say. And you know, he's working constantly on his hips, working away. And you can see that in the Mustard app. You can see on like the weeks where he's really on those the scores going up in Mustard. And so I think that, you know, this was really meant for players who are not at that level. It was meant for, you know, everyday golfers who want to get better. But even for someone at that level, that's, drilling down on the same thing day after day. It just goes to show you that these things are going to stick with you. These are patterns that you've built up. And so it's about building in new patterns, but you're going to have to stick with those new patterns and continue to do those drills in order to get better. Yeah, and then, just to focus a little bit more on the visuals.
And what
So,
just one other thing to add there, Luke,
yeah,
I think we're all aware that nobody wants to work on the same drill for the rest of their lives. So the trick is finding out what you need and then having some variety within that and adding drills. I mean, we have a lot of drills for every swing fault at this point, and we're going to be adding more because we realize that sometimes you just want to try something else. But the trick is to not go off the reservation and kind of
yeah,
stay where you belong. And I think a lot of times I know great players that I've talked to, they find themselves, you want to try something and then you wind up going back to the things that have worked for you. Everybody likes to
yeah.
have a fresh look. But once you have like a little set of drills and corrections that work for you, you can kind of work within that. But the idea is not to just kind of go haywire.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. So one thing I did want to show everybody is, those priorities are going to live on your summary. When you click on report over on the right, then that's going to break down a little bit more into detail. That's when you can dive into the specifics of the scores and whatnot, instead of just looking at the overall summary. So when you click into there, so for example, this player had an issue with backswing body posture. They're probably going to want to look at their backswing body. There's a visual in the top right of these cards that you can actually click on. You can make it bigger. You can pause it, and then from there you can kind of scrub and go slow-mo through it. And when you do that, you're going to be able to see really visually. So you have the scores of your backswing body stuff. But I think what's more important is check out this line, this white line that goes from the knees and then through the sternum. And I think what's so important about that is that's going to show you your backswing body posture. So you can see how much that line straightens up. And so that really demonstrates kind of that posture. Look at this posture change, right? So that's what the app is seeing. That's what we're seeing, and that's why you're getting a lower score on that loss of posture. Then you can also click on that and learn a little bit more about it, although it will be in your plan as well. I think downswing body, same. This athlete's, pretty straight up here, but still losing posture on the downswing. And so you can pause it and you can see the change in posture, especially with that white line. You can see how much more vertical and to the left that line is getting. And that really demonstrates how that posture is changing at impact. Yeah, and you can read a little bit more about it there. So now here's a great question. And Peter, I think this is something that we struggled with in terms of building the app is, hey, you say I got all these things wrong with my swing. How did I hit the ball straight? Or for somebody, hey, I got a pretty good score on that swing, but I sliced it. How do you think about some of that variability? And I know a lot of it comes down to one thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's easy to get stuck on ball flight because that's, the shots we hit is that's our game, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is kind of taking ball flight out of it and saying we're going to look at kind of the bones of your swing because a lot does change day to day. I mean, if somebody is like the club face is a great example. The club face is rotating like crazy in the swing. And if you're an over the top swinger and your face is square or a little bit open, you're hitting slices all day long. And if you happen to be kind of fast with your hands one day, you can be hitting pull hooks. I mean, the swing looks exactly the same, but the face moving is creating these incredible different shots. So I do think that in a lot of the Blackburn videos, he talks about the kind of shots that you will see. We're not being silly here. Like you do think of your golf game in terms of the shots that you hit. So we are linking the swing pattern back to some of the shots that you see. But you really kind of have to look at the vagaries of one day and where the ball happens to be going one day to the next. That's not what this is about. This is about trying to figure out the signature of your swing. Like, what are the major moves that define your swing? And good things and bad things. And when you look at the bad ones, what is causing you the most trouble? Or what can you fix that is going to, in turn, fix the most other things?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of know-how built into this. I mean, with all of the modeling behind the curtain, so to speak. I think it's super smart. I mean, I've sort of tried with a lot of my friends to see if it's picked out the right thing. And I think the batting average is really great. But I do think that people do get stuck on. I mean, I played my kids all the time. They want to know, like, what did I do in that swing? Oh, the ball went over there. What did I do there? Did I do the opposite thing this time? It went over there. That's not your golf swing has a real kind of basic structure to it. And that's what we're looking at. And not the things that would kind of change day to day, but the things that you could work on that would give you a better kind of all of the underpinnings of your swing.
Yeah, and I think one thing that speaks volumes about that, and something you mentioned, is just like the club face, right? The same swing pattern can produce a crazy pull and a 40-yard slice, but it's all just based on what the club face is at impact. And so um, part of it is why it's so important to focus in on your swing pattern and make sure that you have a pattern that's going to produce more consistency with ball strike and ball flight. And then part of it is also just diving into the drills more and making sure that you drill down as much as possible without even using a ball a lot. Because when you bring that ball into play, you bring judgment into play, and then you want to start to try to manipulate things differently, when in fact, we're trying to build you a new pattern. And it's often counterproductive to build a new pattern while judging yourself on some of those results. And so I think that's one thing that I'm really appreciative about the app is let's take club face out of it for now. We're going to get there. And as you work on your swing pattern, it's going to become a lot easier to square your club face. But you almost have to take that out of it for now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is like a lot of this is kind of an unfortunate thing about golf is that your instincts are really often wrong in golf.
Right.
Like if you're hitting a slice and you say your instinct is I have to swing more to the left because I have to make room for that big slice. I have to start the ball to the left. And of course, as we know, the more you swing to the left, the more dramatic the slice because the face is more open to that path, which is going way to the left. Or if somebody says, well, I want to hit the ball higher in the air, they tend to stay back and try to lift the ball. And, it only makes the problem worse because you're hitting it on the bottom of the club and you're topping it or you're thinning it or whatever. So, there's a fair bit of trust that has to occur with golf instruction. And this is getting back to the point I was making earlier about there's so much of it out there that people don't know what to trust. They don't have a way of filtering it themselves. And if you see something online and it says, oh, this sounds pretty good. This guy's a good salesman. Maybe I'll try this. You don't really have any way of knowing if it's right for you. And some of the moves sometimes feel counterintuitive or geez, could that be right? And what we always said at Golf Digest is we want to partner with the best teachers so that we know there's credibility and there's authority there and that what they're teaching, it works. Because game improvement is a leap of faith, whether you're standing in front of a teacher or you're doing it remotely on a Mustard app. It's a leap of faith. I mean, you're putting time, you're putting a lot of energy into it, you're putting a lot of thought into it. And what I always say, because a lot of instruction you find online is free, you're YouTube and you're just Googling away and you say, I'll just try it myself instead of spending any money on it. And good luck. I mean, you might find a few things and who knows, you might be one of those people who figures it out, but I don't see many of those. So I think getting on the right track and then getting great instruction behind it, that's the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
I love
So
when
now,
you agree with me, Luke. It's always nice. A lot of
yeah,
times,
it's not often I disagree with Peter. Frankly, I'm scared to. So uh, this is uh this is just a little video of you know the overall score and kind of what you get to see in the overall score. And I think the key to overall score is this. So what you'll notice is that the numbers in red are below a 7, numbers in green are 7 and above. Really what we did with 7 is kind of make that the passing threshold. So we worked with Mark Blackburn, and kind of developed these variables so that anything above a 7 was, hey, I would deem this acceptable. Anything below a 7 was, you're starting to develop a little bit of problem on your hands. This is something that you should probably work on, because if you continue with this, you will have to develop other faults in your swing in order to compensate for it. Um, so on this screen, obviously this is all our variables, but our variables basically play into this. So we know in terms of like downswing body, this is uh, this is kind of an amalgamation of your body posture, of your hips, of your shoulders, of hip shoulder separation, sequencing, that type of stuff. And
rotation.
so, yeah, rotation, exactly. So all of that is going to go into that score. Um, the one thing I should mention on here, because all the rest of this, you're going to find content in the app, you're going to find drills, you're going to find, etc. One big thing here is this moment of truth, which our content for moment of truth is not in the app yet, but it will be soon. And so, Peter, I thought this could just be a good moment to talk a little bit about moment of truth, and and give people an understanding of kind of what it means, how it was come up with, that type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you give him a little sneak peek. I like that, Luke. You give him just hanging the carrot out there.
Yeah.
So the moment of truth, as this is a Justin Rose piece, right? So he has kind of he didn't coin moment of truth, but the position is when the club is in what we call the delivery position, where the shaft is kind of coming down, where the arms are kind of in front of the right side. There's a key position that a lot of great instructors are always looking at, where you look at the angle of the shaft to the forearm. And essentially what it does is it predicts the impact position. So it's such a key thing because it looks at a few things. It's right. You see Justin's got it there. No, that's not Justin. Who's that?
That is Justin.
Is that Justin?
Yeah, he just got his stealth mode glasses on.
Oh, I thought that was Rocky. It looks like Rocky.
Oh gosh, he doesn't have a swing like that.
But you can see here is the shaft is on his trail forearm, splitting his trail forearm. So that would be a perfect position. Um, a lot of people the shaft will be above the arm there. Some people, the shaft will be below the arm. But this is one of those key things that teachers look at when they do all this freeze frame video now, because essentially it predicts the path of the swing. You can see where the club face is. Of course, the relationship of the path to the face really determines the direction of the shot, where it's going to start and how it's going to curve. So this is one of those, this is kind of a fashionable new position in the golf swing that great teachers are looking at, because it really does reveal a lot about where the ball is going to go.
Yeah, and Justin calls it a moment of truth. A lot of people might call it like a shallowing or a shallowing score or something like that. But yeah, it basically is, once you get to this moment, there's not much you can do to recover the swing. And so it ends up being a pretty important position that we get focused on. So yeah, it's a little bit more about the scores. One other thing I should point out in the scores is that you might look at your scores and you might have 9 on just about everything, and then you have one score that's like 5 out of 10. Maybe it seems like it's out of the ordinary and saying, how was my overall swing score so low, even though everything else was 9 out of 10? And what we do in our calculations is, even if you have one score that's out of place, that will affect the rest of your score disproportionately. And that's kind of how it works in the regular golf swing, right? You have one issue, and that shows its nasty head in a lot of ways. And so our score works the same way. Basically, if you have a big fault, it'll show. If you're relatively even and across the board and passing things across the board, that'll show too, and that'll reflect in the score. So, yeah, I think next thing to do is to look at just kind of how to go to the plan and start getting introduced to the plan. So let's check it out. So after you've gone through your report card, you've seen some of the visuals, you've understood your priorities, this is where you should go into the plan. So right, I've understood my priorities. Now let me start my new plan. Especially the first time through the app, this would be, you're starting a brand new plan. Boom, you get confetti. And then here is really where your journey starts, right? It's mostly about watching all of the video content that Mark Blackburn has available for you. So on this page, you'll be able to kind of click in, improve loss of posture on backswing, and you'll have a bunch of videos on first, like a definition of what that means. And then you get into the fun stuff, which is your potential causes. Let's pretend like we've clicked on there, and we'll get us to our next little video. So you've clicked on your plan, and you've now clicked into that improved loss of posture, and now you have your bunch of videos. And in your bunch of videos, you have that definition video. It's defining what the loss of posture is. And then you have your potential causes. Potential causes, I think, are really awesome and are kind of a big moment, like a magic moment for people, because they're starting to understand, okay, I see how this issue pops up, but I don't know what the root cause of it is. And now you're starting to understand the root cause of this for yourself. And this could be, your issue could stem from any one of these things, sometimes even multiple of them. But Peter, I think this was really clever on your part of kind of coming up with this type of thing about, hey, let's provide a little bit more information on what the root cause might be for somebody. Let them pick it out themselves, because people know their golf swing well enough to understand kind of what they're doing and what their movements are. They don't always see how it manifests and how, a golf instructor might say it manifests, but they do understand kind of the root cause of it. They just don't always know that that's a wrong thing to do. But yeah, can you talk a little bit about the potential causes?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I want to go back to the definition video too at the start, because I think that's important. Like, people just understanding. I mean, a lot of us have played golf for a long time, but we're not taking anything for granted here. Once you get on your kind of content path, we're going to break it down from the very beginning. And with something as simple as, like, what is this? You're losing your posture. Everybody seems to know, well, what does that mean? Well, here's the number one ranked teacher in America telling you in the simplest terms, this is what this means. And I think that will even be revealing to people sometimes. And then when you get into the causes and the corrections, I do think that people are going to find themselves in there pretty quickly. You can probably eliminate some of them and say, I don't do that, I don't do that. I do think, as you were saying, Luke, like a lot of them are kind of interrelated. Um, so there's a little bit of sort of trial and error, kind of working your way through it, finding out where you are. And these are short videos. They're like a minute. Some of them are less than a minute. And I think, I think users are going to eat those up because, as I was saying before, like you're in your area here. So it's not like you're trying all these different things and watching stuff that might not even be applying to you. Once you get here, we're saying this is your spot. So everything that you're looking at applies to you in some way, some things more than others. And I think as people, your kind of your swing shape, your signature, your swing pattern, as you call it, it's pretty locked in. Like that's where you are. But I do think that you probably sometimes uh, different parts of it would apply. Sometimes you're picking the club up a little bit more. Sometimes your shoulder turn is, but it's not changing the basic structure of your swing. These are all slight variations on a certain theme. And I do like this it is kind of a little bit of pick your own adventure because I think that some people will kind of connect more with certain parts of this. Some people kind of feel their hands and arms more. Some people feel their body more. Some people, so there's a lot of different things to look at. And the idea being that different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think next thing after the potential causes is really the drills. And, you know, a lot of the recommendation that we've gotten from great coaches is um, do all the drills. Typically people are getting through most of the content, potentially all of it in one sitting because the videos are pretty short. You can work your way through it. And then drills are really where we want you to spend most of your time. So our recommendation is do all the drills and then find one that you like. The one that you like the best, the one that you feel like matches up with your potential cause the best, do that for a week, and then record again. And, a lot of times it takes 2 weeks to get through a variable, a content stream where you feel like you have a good handle on it. But really for the first week, it's like, hey, just find the drill you like. And then once you've done that, and once you've clicked off all these items, then it might be time to upload another swing. But really what we built in here that I think is important, which we're refining a little bit, is kind of the drill streaks. So like once you have watched a video and you can come back to the app daily, and then you can look at the drill streaks and start to check those off daily. The drill streaks are kind of on the main coaching page. Just click them off daily. That'll keep you honest. And then once you've gotten through about a week, come in, upload another video, and then you'll be able to see your improvement. So here's what that looks like.
Luke, one other thought on the drills. I just want to
Yeah.
point out that, some of them are easily done at home. A lot of them are, in your living room or in your garage, hitting balls, making swings, sometimes hitting balls. A lot of them do not require being out on the range, or some of them don't even require having a club in your hand.
Yeah.
So I think that's always, everybody always has a lot of excuses. I don't have time. I don't have time to, we've tried to build this around fitting it into your busy life, and you want to improve your golf, but we realize that people aren't on the range, hitting 200 balls a day. And I think you'll see some iterations of the app coming up that we're talking about where it's giving you maybe a little bit more of a plan in terms of how do you use that 2 week cycle, and to try to make it flexible enough for different kinds of people. Some people do have a chance to, go to the range 2 or 3 times a week. Other people like to use their golf time to play golf, and they're not really practicing that much. And that's where I think some of the at-home drills come in, where you can be doing stuff sometimes without even a club in your hand.
Yeah, and that's such a good point because I've actually gone through, I think there's only one drill in the entire app so far that you probably can't do just
Oh,
in
is that right?
your house. Yeah.
Uh,
I think the punch shot drill, you at
hmm.
least need a net for that. But otherwise, you can basically do every drill from home, which I think is so great because, even at work or whatever you're doing, you can stand up for 5 minutes. You can do the drill. You can find time for it even at home, which I think is really important. As you can see on this screen, like if you do a drill in your plan, so like kind of on the other screen I showed you, that'll pop up here and it'll count towards your streak. Or if you watch any of the videos below in your drills, which these are taken from kind of the variable that you're on, or if you've already completed variables, uh, it'll take it from previous variables so that you continue on working on previous variables as well. That'll show up in your drill streaks. So I think it's a fun way to kind of keep track of it. But definitely after 7 days, it's important to record another video and see how you've improved. So let's take a look at that. Let's see what that looks like. All right. So you've checked off all your drills and everything, and now you can take another swing. So you select another swing, boom, and then here, I've taken another swing. So yeah, swing submitted, all that good stuff. This will kind of finish uploading. Once it's finished uploading, you'll complete your plan. And then what I think is pretty cool is it means you've completed your variable. And then you're going to be able to see your improvement, right? And I think that that's what it's all about, is being able to understand where you started and then understand how you've improved. So most people are going to see drastic improvement in that one variable after 7 days. If you haven't, it's really not to worry about, because I would say either way, whether you did, terrific or whether you didn't do terrific, it's always great to spend a second week doing that variable. And what we've heard from Blackburn is he would really focus on that second week. He would focus on variability of that variable. So it's a lot of variable type stuff. But for each drill, what he would do is he would take that drill, now slow it down. Okay, take that same drill, now speed it up a little bit. Take that same drill and overemphasize, underemphasize. Really work in that feeling any way you can. And so that way, when you're on the course, if you get nervous, if it's raining, whatever the circumstances are, you've really worked that drill enough so that you can commit to that pattern. And I think that's so important in building in that second week of your plan. And Peter, you've played serious golf before. You, I'm sure, know how important it is to kind of have those patterns built in, even like when the pressure's on, right?
Well, thank you for pointing that out, Luke, but it's been a long time since I played serious golf. But you're right. I mean, I do feel like in the end, I mean, drills are great because you learn the moves and the positions, but ultimately you play with feel. I mean, you're not playing with drills on the golf course. So drills are great as a kind of a starting point, but you have to internalize the kind of the feeling of the drills, and then that's what you got and play with. So I do think that I want to get back to your point about if someone doesn't see improvement in a short amount of time. I mean, improving your golf swing it's not easy. I mean, some people can get something fast and see rapid improvement. We hope and think that if we get you on the right track, in a week or two, you definitely will see improvement. Nothing changes overnight. I mean, you're not going to cut your handicap in half in 2 weeks. But the idea is you start to see something, you start to feel something different, and hopefully that motivates you to kind of stick with it. Because what happens with people is that they don't stick with it. And usually when things aren't going great, they don't see improvement. What comes back is they really don't have any faith in where they started. So they say, I'll just quit. I'll just quit doing this, or I'll try something else. And I think what we're saying here is you got to stick with it. And if the improvement comes slower than you expect, it doesn't mean that you got to doubt where you started, because the whole
Yeah.
point of the app is that we've measured your swing and we have found your key, your best opportunity to improve. So when you have those moments of doubt, you say like, oh man, maybe I should try something else. You got to go back and say, well, where did this come from? And what we're saying here is that it came from measuring your swing, and essentially there's a lot that went into it. It's not just saying, here's some tips, try them, see if they work for you. So I always
Yeah.
find like people get in a pickle with their golf swing. They say, oh, maybe I just got to start over again, and just, like it's what we're giving you here is direction.
Mhm.
And it's what most people are lacking. They're trying a lot of things a little bit, or they're trying nothing because they feel overwhelmed. What we're
Yeah.
saying is that we're getting you in a really specific area that we've measured and we know is right for you. So if when you start to have doubts or things aren't going as fast as you hoped, maybe you can trust that you're in the right place. You just got to put a little bit more into it, or try some different things in your content stream. And I think drills are interesting because some drills appeal to some people and not to others. And that's why we have a lot of them in there, because you may try one and say, I don't really want to do this. Or you may say, I don't really get this one. So you got another one right there.
Yeah.
But the idea is not to jump ship, because you're in the right place. That's the number one thing I think the Mustard app gives you, is that it's putting you where you need to be to get better. And then it's up to you in terms of how much you commit to it.
I totally agree. Uh, Um, and I know we're actually out of time, but I do want to cover two things. I want to cover a couple questions that we've gotten in the chat. And then I also just want to say that one big future thing that we're building actually as we speak is really making the plan more of a calendar for yourself. So, hey, you're going to be able to see all the content that's in the application, not just the content that's right for you, but then we're actually going to guide you through that so that you know where you fit within all of that content, and can really dive into the pathway that's right for you, but actually have a daily plan, and and really be able to commit to doing it daily and knowing that it's going to work. One thing that I think is pretty powerful is in our swing score in the app, people that use the app for 2 weeks improve their swing score by 9% on average. And so I think that being able to improve swings that quickly and being able to see improvement is really key. But the commitment is necessary and important. So that's what we're building into the app. Um, I would like to get to these questions real quick. So, first question is the plan self-paced? As a handicapper who's also short on free time, I have trouble prioritizing the best ways to improve my game. So I think that's a great question, and has two parts. Number one, we are going to prioritize your game for you. And I think that's the great thing about the app that Peter touched on a ton, and is really key for it, is we will help you prioritize. And when you go to that plan, you know you're getting the most important thing for your game. And then secondly, that self-pacing, I think, is important too. If you can give us a few minutes every day to do your drill, you're going to get better. Just stick with it. Do your drills for a week, re-record after a week, check your progress, do your drills for another week in that same variable. And then after those 2 weeks, move on. And I think you'll like where you end up. Then I think last question, which also in the chat, I'm going to put in our email, which please email us any questions, and we will respond. And any questions about the app or the golf swing, happy to respond. Last question's about putting. Does the app give any insights on putting? Not at the moment, but we will. We will get to putting, we'll get to chipping. I think we'll be pretty comprehensive in terms of game improvement, but putting, not yet. So work on your full swing first. Why not? It's fun. Have at it. Yeah, Peter, any last comments?
No, I mean, this was fun. I'm just excited to see a lot of people using the app and getting feedback. I mean, I think we're off to a great start. I really believe that we have a structure built that can help people in a personalized way, without a ton of input. I mean, there's a lot of technological firepower behind the curtain, and with just uploading a single swing, I mean, I think people will learn things about their game that they never knew before. And I know I'm repeating myself when I say, if you can get in the right spot and understand what your biggest challenge is, and then have some really good instruction behind that, it's up to you. I mean, it's really how much you're going to commit to it. You commit a little bit, maybe get a little bit better. But if you have sort of the keys are laid out for you, and directions and instructions to use, I think a lot of people are going to get a lot better. Proud of what we've done.
Yeah, me too. And it's been awesome doing it with Golf Digest, and more to come soon. But thank you everybody for joining. We're always open to answer questions about the app or golf swing, so please shoot us an email. But Peter, thank you so much for the time. Yeah, I think it'll be hugely beneficial to everyone who uses Mustard. So thank you again. I'm glad to have you on the team.
I enjoyed it. Thanks.